What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update. A few bits and pieces to get through today. And let's start off with Dan Kilpatrick's talking about Steven Bergwijn. And he says, Antonio Conte has offered Steven Bergwijn the chance to revive his Spurs career by becoming Harry Kane's understudy up front. Conte says he doesn't want to use Son at the number 9, but believes Bergwijn could play there. And there's a small quote here from Antonio and says, Steven is working and we are utilising him also in this striker position and in the 3 positions off the striker. Steven could be a good option on the day that I want to give Kane a rest. What do you make out of that?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because if you think about the qualities that Conte likes in a striker, physicality, strength, that kind of stuff, like who else in our front line, in our forward options, is better than Bergwijn, I guess, to fit those parameters. Interesting, his comments on Son, but we'll start with Bergwijn first. I think we've tried it a couple times, it hasn't really worked, but that was under Mourinho, where it was difficult games like Chelsea away. I think maybe was it Leipzig? Maybe as well. We played them up front.
Wasn't it at Leipzig?
I think at home maybe Leipzig.
Maybe
at home to Leipzig. I can't remember. But I remember it didn't quite work. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't try it again if Conte believes that's the best option.
But also, when we did try it, wasn't in a functional team.
No.
It was a team with a lot of injuries and literally down to the bare bones. So you can't really use those as like a trial, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. I'd like to see him in a team which is, to be honest, we're not functioning that great at the moment anyway, but I'd like to see him in a more functional team when, if he is a focal point up front, in the front 3, it'll be interesting to see how he does fare. It's interesting that he would rather Bergwijn there than Son, maybe because of his physicality in the forward positions. I mean, I wouldn't be adverse to giving Bergwijn a run there. I don't think he's a long-term option there, personally. But in terms of his strength and his speed, he can probably do a job in terms of pinning centre-backs back and stuff like that. Would he be able to have the finishing ability when he gets in those positions? I mean, he hasn't shown it yet, but maybe that's something we could, if he's more central, we could get out of him. I mean, it remains to be seen. Yeah,
I mean, personally, I kind of agree with you in terms of our options and in terms of what Conte likes. Bergwijn probably does fit the bill more than anyone else, but probably will just be a stopgap until we can get another striker in, to be honest.
Yeah. Definitely, that's what I mean. He works in our FIFA career up front, doesn't he?
Yeah, it does.
Steven Bergwijn. But
maybe that's where he got the idea from.
Definitely, exactly. He saw Bergwijn playing up front. He's like, "Oh, okay, I'm going to try this." In terms of moving on to Sonny, I think that's more interesting. He said, specifically on Sonny, he says, "In the past, I've seen that Son played number 9. Honestly, I prefer Son to play as a number 10 in the position that he's working now. I like to have a point of reference as a number 9." So when he says point of reference, I believe probably what he's saying is that, for example, if you're being pressed and you know when a team sometimes is under pressure and they just like to aim it towards a target man or towards a striker who can maybe hold the ball up and play and bring other players into play and get your team out of trouble. Maybe he doesn't see Son as that kind of player who can do that. We know Son, when he's played number 9, has done a great job, but it's more definitely like running in behind, catching the defence on the other side. He's never been a player. He's never been a player to get the ball in his chest, hold it up, hold off defenders. He's never been that striker, even when he has played up front, has he?
Yeah, I mean, if Son's going to play up front, we need to be playing like a quick counter-attacking style football or very fluid front 3 up top. You're right. He's not really one of these strikers where you can lump the ball forward to and he's going to make it stick, really.
And he did have a decent role under Mourinho in a number 9 role. He had a decent run, but again, it was definitely more of him running in behind. It was never even under Mourinho. He was never. We were playing on the counter, and he was we were getting the ball and kind of playing it over the top kind of thing. We were never really getting it into feet to Sonny for him to hold it up, which is clearly what Conte likes. But very more interestingly, when he goes to Sonny, when he talks about him playing as a number 10, which is what he's playing now. And we've seen Sonny playing definitely a lot more centrally since Conte has come in. That's definitely something that we've noticed. Which I'm definitely a fan of. I want him to play centrally. I do feel like he's struggled so far since Conte's appointment, but I think hopefully it's just him getting used to a new role. Clearly, he's like a bit deeper, but a bit more central. And I think we all know that Sonny is definitely a player usually that thrives with a lot of space. He likes space to run into. So adapting to a new role centrally where it's a bit more congested, where maybe space is harder to come by, it's going to take a bit of adaptation. But we know with his ability from outside the box and in and around the penalty area, that once he adapts, I'm sure he's going to start firing again.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Sonny's got enough quality to adapt to these kind of situations, and I think he's just getting used to the new role and the new system Antonio Conte has brought in, and I think that's the case with a lot of players in the team right now. And I think once all the players get to grips with it, once Antonio's had enough time on the training ground to really put his ideas across and really get the players to grips with it, I think they'll all thrive from it, and I think Sonny's no different, and probably Sonny will thrive from it more than a lot of these players, and I think he's got more than enough quality to bring that through at the end of the day.
Interesting, he says he calls it a number 10 role, because I wouldn't say, if I'm looking at how Spurs are playing, that he's playing like a number 10. He's playing like an inside forward. That's what I thought. But Conte sees it more as a number 10, so he sees it more as like a deeper role, maybe like a more creative role, which I haven't really seen the best of like Sonny do his best. I mean, I'm sure he can, but like, you know, you don't associate Sonny with like through balls and being creative, do you? See him, you associate him with finishing and be getting beyond players and getting on the wing. And also as well with Sonny, like the way Lucas can glide past players in tight spaces. We haven't, like, Son isn't that kind of player where you can pick the ball up and just go past the player like he's not there. He usually is very good at running in behind players, which is very different to Lucas, who likes the ball to feet and likes to beat players at will. So maybe Sonny has to develop that side of his game as well.
Well, I think it could be maybe when we move to like a 3-5-2 system and you play Son and Kane up top. I know he's saying he doesn't want him as a number 9, but he can be that number 10 in that 2 up top, if you know what I mean. And Kane can be that number 9 and Sonny can drop back a bit. Or Kane, you know, I think it'll be a bit of a more of a mix and match kind of thing when both of them are up there. And I think that's where Sonny's really going to thrive, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think when you look at comparing Sonny to Lucas, like they literally are like the polar opposite. Whatever Sonny's good at, Lucas is not good at, and vice versa. I feel with them too.
100%. All right, let's move on. Some more from Dan Kilpatrick, and he says Yaya Toure today began working with the Spurs Academy a couple of days a week as he builds towards his UEFA A licence, but is open to extending his stay at the club if the opportunity arises.
I think they should just lock Yaya Toure and Ndombele in a room together. Toure, just teach him the way, just tell him how to do it, because he needs help. Like literally, that's what I'd want him for, just personal training with Ndombele. It's
interesting why he's come to the Spurs Academy, not gone to Man City or something like that.
Apparently, I read there's some links between Spurs and Yaya Toure. I don't know what it is. Some people are at Tottenham at the moment, which is interesting. But look, I mean, world-class player in his day.
That's putting it lightly.
Yeah, so like, I mean, he was an absolute monster of a player when he was at Man City. So, I do find maybe because he doesn't get on with Pep, does he? That was the thing, wasn't it?
Right, yeah. So, towards the end, anyway.
And even at Barcelona, I believe they didn't get on, did they? Pep?
I think Pep sold him at Barcelona.
They did, yeah, for Busquets. He forced him out for Busquets. And then when he came, I remember when he came to in his first season, Pep, he started to sideline him immediately. If I remember
I agree, yeah, you're right.
So maybe that's why he didn't go back to Man City.
What a player he was, seriously.
Any sort of knowledge he can bring to the academy or any Tottenham players at the moment. Look, it doesn't look like he's been working with the first team, but any knowledge you can bring, I'm sure it's going to be worth a lot. So I'm glad to have him around. I'm sure he's a good guy to have around, and maybe he could become a coach of Tottenham one day. That'd be great.
You never know. But he is at the Tottenham training ground as we speak. He started his work yesterday with the academy, getting his UEFA A licence. So we'll see what happens with that one. But let's move on. Correa Fiorentino, bringing up those Dusan Vlahovic links once again. It feels like we're talking about Vlahovic every day on these Tottenham updates. But what it says here is Tottenham remain intent on signing Dusan Vlahovic, with Antonio Conte a great admirer. Spurs have held talks with Fiorentina directors in London over purchasing the striker.
We'll see. I mean, I guess maybe we don't want Bergwijn to do too well as backup striker, do we? If we want Vlahovic, but I mean, again, it's just one where it's going to take a lot of money. And
you know what this reminds me of? Those Sabitzer links. You know, every week, Sabitzer's coming to Spurs, Sabitzer's coming to Spurs, Sabitzer's coming to Spurs, and when it comes down to it, he went to a much bigger club.
Yeah,
this is what this reminds me of.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We need to show our ambition if we're going to convince him at the moment. He's in red hot form, scored yet again on the weekend for Fiorentina. So he's a player who's going to have no shortage of suitors, and it's about Tottenham convincing him to be part of the team, and whether we can do that. Look, I think it's always going to be a link with now we have Paratici and Conte, and all this. We're very much looking at Serie A players, and we definitely need a backup striker. It's always going to be a link, but I've got a feeling Vlavic is getting I think maybe a year ago you can convince him to be backup, but I think now might be getting too good to be back up at this point.
It seems as though the way people are talking about Vlahovic, they're putting him on a pedestal with the big strikers in the world. I mean, obviously he's not at the levels of the Haalands and stuff like that yet, but they're saying he will get there.
He seems to be on his way. He's still very young, isn't he? Still 21 or so, 22, and he's banging them in for fun in Serie A. So when you're that age and you're scoring for fun in a big league, you're going to get a lot of eyes on you.
And the attributes that he holds, I mean, he'll suit any league in Europe, big, tall, strong, really quick. I mean, for someone of his size to be that quick is unbelievable. His finishing is absolutely dynamite. I mean, he is very close in terms of physical attributes to Haaland, to be honest.
Yeah, Haaland's rapid. I don't know if Vlahovic is that rapid, is he?
I mean, I'm not saying he's exactly as fast as Haaland, but I'm saying the attributes he shows is very similar. He's big, tall, strong, finishes well, he's fast. Maybe not as fast as Haaland, but similar attributes.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's like a robot, Haaland.
Yeah, he's mad. He's made in a lab. That's what he is. But Vlahovic is clearly a striker who's gonna go somewhere. His next move is going to be a big one, and whether we can convince him to come, I'm sorry, it's a weird one. It's the better he does, it's the less likely he is to come to Tottenham, I feel.
Yeah. And on top of that, there's just a lack of big strikers around in Europe at the moment. There's a massive lack of it, and there's a lot of clubs that need strikers at the moment. So
yeah, you think about Liverpool, City. They don't their main players are on the wing. They're not strikers, are they? Tottenham, Harry Kane is not scoring at the moment. Even the ones who are scoring, you've got Vardy scoring. You've got Ronaldo who's scoring in Champions League and stuff. But there is a lack of proper goal scorers at the moment, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. And you look at big teams. You look at Real Madrid. Who have they got? They got Benzema up front. He's at 34 at the moment.
He's still amazing.
I know he's still amazing, but at some point they're going to have to start thinking about replacing him. Bayern Munich, they got Lewandowski up top, who's also aging. At some point they're going to have to think about replacing him. Man City, they don't even have a recognised striker. They need one. So you're looking at a lot of big clubs at the moment that are going to need to be spending big on strikers very soon.
So Vlahovic coming, one of them's going to want Vlahovic.
Yeah, exactly.
So to come play second fiddle to Kane probably is appealing.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. And the last story we've got for you today is Eriksen is currently back in training, which is music to all our ears. And he's currently training with his childhood club, Odense, out in Denmark. And it's considered to be light individual training work at the moment. But at least he's back on the training ground, and that is music to all our ears, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant. That's very, very good. And hopefully he can get back on the pitch when he's ready, and we all look forward to that. To whenever that happens. Obviously, he doesn't. He's going to be playing this season for the rest of the season, unless he moves in January. But it's great to see him back in training and trying to get his fitness back up, and with a view of playing again, because he's such a great player to watch. He's a brilliant footballer. So I would love to see him again back on the football pitch at some point, and. Yeah, it's great news. Yeah, 100%. So that is the Eriksen update. He is back on the training ground, albeit light training work, like individual training work. But, you've got to take it in little steps at the end of the day. And it's a step in the right direction. So that's what we want to see. But that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any thoughts regarding any of the news stories we brought to you today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.